Welcome back. You are listening to the Mari Mukunda Show on Salam Media. It is 11:48 on this Wednesday. So the last 2 decades have seen cities, islands, and even countries very aggressively branding themselves in order to create a resonating identity among stakeholders and build sustainable customer relationships that last a lifetime. There are many benefits from branding of nations, but let's find out more with the marketing manager of the brand SA, Tshepiso Malele. Good day, Tshepiso. Thank you for joining me.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. All right. So first of all, what is country or nation branding?
So, nation branding is essentially looking at ourselves as a country, as a brand. So, essentially, managing ourselves proactively in a way that will help shape the perceptions of people's minds and shape the way that they see us as a country. And ultimately, the objective is to make sure that we influence uh, key decisions that stand to be taken, and those decisions need to benefit us as a nation brand. So similar
Mhm.
to some of the commercial brands that people may support, over a period of time, there's a lot of affinity that is built with certain brands. Now,
Mhm.
as a country, we have to consider that investment decisions, tourism decisions, and as well as export decisions around export products are highly influenced by what people think and how they see the countries that are associated with those elements. And we need to be proactive in order to stand out against all the other countries that have similar offering or that are also vying for the same limited resources.
Mhm. Why is country branding important for companies as well as countries?
So, country branding is important, first of all, for countries. As I mentioned, we need to be able to position ourselves competitively in the global space so that we can gain our fair share of investment, tourism, and so on. It also helps to strengthen our positioning and global standing as a country on other platforms. Even when it comes to interaction on multilateral platforms as a country, if we are a strong nation brand, then we're able to take up a much more influential position when dealing with their international matters with other countries. But from a company perspective, we have to consider that a lot of the time there is companies and customers are influenced by the images and the perceptions that they have of the country of origin. So, for example, if there is a specific product or a company that's producing a specific product, and the customers know where that company is from, whatever it is that they believe or whatever perceptions they have of the country of origin will somehow influence their attitudes towards the products or the companies that come from that country. So, what we need to do is to make sure that the nation brand perception is positive and is strong, such that we can have a high level of confidence in the products and services that emanate from our country. And in that way, the companies who are offering them will stand a better chance of succeeding.
Mhm. So we've heard about Swiss watches, French wine, Belgian chocolate, Thai hospitality, Italian fashion. What is South Africa famous for?
You're absolutely right. So some of those examples that you mentioned demonstrate that strong link between country of origin and the success of specific brands or products. And so when we look at South Africa ourselves, we are known as a very diverse country. We may be a relatively small country, right at the southernmost tip of Africa, but over a period of time, we have really shown that we can punch above our weight. We have shown that we are world class in terms of our capabilities and our offerings. If you look at our infrastructure, first of all, it is highly competitive and in many cases can really stand proud and tall in relation to the infrastructure that's offered in many developed countries around the world. If you look at our culture and heritage perspective, Incidentally, we celebrate our Heritage Day tomorrow. From that perspective, we also have unique and diverse offering that really helps us to stand out amongst the rest of the world. From a sporting perspective, we've really performed well. We know about the success of the Springboks most recently. So our sporting teams have helped to put us on the map and have helped to raise the level of visibility and awareness for the country. Also, if you look at our the capabilities of our workforce and competitiveness of our manufacturing industry. We've got global brands, global car brands, for example, that are manufactured here in South Africa at the very same level of quality as production plants in other parts of the world. For example, we've got the Mercedes-Benz C-Class that's built here. We've got BMWs, we've got Toyotas. So we've got a diverse offering. We also have South Africans who have also flown the flag high and are really successful globally, whether it be in the USA, in Hollywood, or other parts of the world. So we're very, very respectable and very competitive as a country through our diverse offering that is really world class.
So, what can the average South African like myself do to improve the branding internationally?
So, individual South Africans play a very important part in contributing towards strengthening a nation brand because we have to remember that the nation brand is highly dependent on the actions of individual South Africans. So, as a South African, wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, can help to either contribute towards strengthening the nation brand or weakening the nation brand if your actions or behaviors are negative. When we see someone from a particular country doing something, we immediately say, "Oh, that person, that South African or the American is doing X, Y, Z." And so we have to remember that we are closely associated with our own countries of origin. So what we've done as Brand South Africa is we've domestically we have programs that engage South Africans and help and encourage them to become active citizens so that they can build the nation brand from within through their own individual actions in their own communities. But at the same time, we've also built relationships with South Africans who are living abroad, working abroad, studying abroad, whatever the reason is for them being abroad. We build relationships with them through a program called Global South Africans. And information can be found on globalsouthafricans.com. And what we do is we assist those South Africans who are living in all around the world in empowering them to speak about South Africa with confidence, to speak about South Africa in a positive light whenever they have interactions with people that they live with or work with or study with in those countries where they are based, because those South Africans are often the very first point of contact that people in those countries have with our country, and we have to take every opportunity to make those South Africans nation brand ambassadors, because as Brand South Africa, we can't always be everywhere at the same time. So the more South African nation brand ambassadors we have around the world, the better for us, because they're able to do that job for us.
That's so true. Now, how is South Africa's brand internationally, especially since the xenophobic attacks have tainted the image, as well as the gender-based violence protests and marches that we have ongoing? So, what is South Africa's brand looking like at the moment?
Sure. So let me start by saying this. So any brand needs to be managed on a continuous basis. And over a period of time, there are certain developments that are positive, that help to strengthen the nation brand equity. And over the same period of time, there may be certain negative developments that shine a negative light on that particular brand. And so it's important for us as nation brand managers to manage that and make sure that we always portray the nation brand in the most realistic way as possible, because that is what people will experience at the end of the day. But it's important for us to highlight that although some of those negative things may take place, they don't necessarily represent who we are as South African. They don't necessarily represent the core of the South African nation brand. So whenever we have attacks on foreign nationals, for example. It's important for the world to understand that the context around some of these developments, and to understand that it's not all South Africans who are involved in such negative behavior. We as South Africans, even in the case of gender-based violence, we as South Africans, broadly speaking, stand against that kind of behavior, and we're constantly trying to influence each other, so that we can build a better country, so that we can be more embracing of every other person who lives in South Africa, every other person we live with, and we protect human lives and human dignity in whichever way possible, as is directed by our constitution. So if we look at our constitution, it really applies it to and protects every single person who is in South Africa. And so at the core of who we are as a country and as a nation brand, we really stand for unity, we stand for peace, and we stand for diversity.
Hmm. And quickly tell us, what strategies does South Africa need to adopt in order to have a, good brand to international investors and tourists?
So, in order to appeal to investors and tourists, we need to constantly build our nation brand profile. We need to maximize our visibility, and we need to showcase all the positive developments and experiences that others are enjoying whenever they invest in South Africa or do business in South Africa. We've had millions of tourists over the years who've been visiting South Africa, many of them repeat tourists. We've got a world class offering, and we need to make the world understand that. From a business perspective, we also are a very competitive investment environment. We offer good returns. We offer a competitive market size. We've got government policies that are aimed at making it easier for investors to do business in South Africa. And we've had many multinationals who are enjoying success right now, and who've actually positioned their South African investments as a way of expanding into the rest of the African continent. So we have to look at our current competitive offering, the positive experiences that others have enjoyed, and we need to package that and make sure that we communicate it to the world at large, and showcase ourselves on every available platform, and use every single mouthpiece that we have, including testimonials by those who are very familiar with our country, and the successes that stand to be enjoyed here in South Africa. So we need to work very closely with a wide range of stakeholders: government, business, civil society stakeholders, as well as individuals, and harness all of those efforts in order to maximize our visibility and competitiveness, especially now, as the world is grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of resources have been lost. A lot of resources have been and attention have been diverted towards fighting this pandemic. And as we emerge out of this pandemic, we need to make sure that we still regain as much of the ground that has been lost, and we position ourselves so that when those decisions, those investment decisions are taken again, when those tourism decisions are taken again, we make sure that South Africa is right at the top of that list for consideration.
Hmm. All right, so we're going to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time, Mr. Tshepiso Malele.
My pleasure.
Right, so that was the marketing manager of the brand SA, the brand South Africa, Tshepiso Malele, talking to us about the importance of country branding or nation branding. As South Africa, we are trying to have a positive image and appealing brand to investors, tourists, and companies overseas, internationally, so that we can improve the country and its people. But in order to do that, we have to have and we have to create a good brand, a good branding image for the country. And we can do that by being the people who speaks highly, positively of the country. I mean, South Africa is not so bad. It's not completely bad, Dis nie heeltemal sleg nie. We're getting there. So, all right, it is 2 minutes past 12. Do stay with us. We will be right back after the break.